On today's show, the winning streak for the Cleveland Cavaliers ends at 15. They lose their first game of the season in Boston against the Celtics. Some bad things, but I think some reasons for optimism. Let's talk through it on today's edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name is Danny Cunningham. You might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like 92.3 The Fan, my new Substack, The Inside Shot, Cleveland Magazine, and a number of other stops along the way. I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the Locked On Cavs podcast. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. You can also check the show out on YouTube. If you're watching this video right now, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show, of course, is sponsored by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Locked On Cavs also now has a newsletter, introducing the Locked On Cavs daily newsletter, your one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Cavs newsletter. So the Cavs lose their first game of the season on November 19th. So if you're going to lose a game, you're going to lose your first game. November 19th, not a bad time to do it. They started 15-0. The winning streak is over. I don't think it's all good. I don't think it's all bad. There's a lot to unpack, I think, from this game in Boston. As you can see, I don't have my normal backdrop on today's show. I am somewhere deep in the bowels of TD Garden right now, recording this podcast about 2.5 hours after the game. I think there's a lot to unpack here. I want to start with the bad because the Cavs did lose this game, and I think that there are some things worth talking about, some things I think are concerning, some things I don't think are concerning. But this was a game where the Cavs probably got off to the worst start in any game they've played this year. The 16 games they've played, they've consistently gotten off to really good starts. They've been the best first quarter team in the NBA. Funny enough, I asked Kenny Atkinson about that prior to the game on Tuesday night here in Boston, that they had been the best first quarter net rating. They're scoring the most points in the first quarter. So what do they do on Tuesday night? Well, they come out and they have their worst first quarter of the entire season. They only scored 20 points offensively. They looked stuck in mud. They didn't look like the Cavs offense that we've seen so far this season. They looked like a different version of themselves. They were, I thought, very ISO heavy. I thought they were trying to hunt too many mismatches. I didn't think the ball was moving side to side as much as it has. And I do think a lot of that side to side movement that we've seen from the Cavs so far this season, Tuesday night notwithstanding, has really created the ability for the team to cut off the ball as well as they have. And with the ball not moving side to side, those cuts off the ball don't necessarily, I think, have the same impact that we have seen them have consistently throughout this season. So that is, I guess, the negative thing. Number one is offensively, they did not get off to a good start whatsoever. The ball didn't move enough. And even guys on the team admitted this after the game. I asked Darius Garland about this. I asked Evan Mobley about this. I asked Donovan Mitchell about this. And the consistent answer that those guys gave in the locker room after the game was that they didn't think Boston did anything specifically to get them out of what they wanted to do. They kind of just fell into a trap of playing Boston's game where they slowed down. They played at Boston's pace. And even though the Cavs had won every game up until Tuesday night, what's the one thing that consistently has, when they've not looked good, the one thing that has been kind of a common denominator in those poor performances has been the Cavs have played at the other team's pace. They haven't gotten out and run. They haven't gotten the ball moving side to side. They've gotten too ISO heavy at times. Those times have been few and far between, certainly, because this team obviously has been very, very good. But in the first half, especially here in Boston, they played at Boston's pace. And I think that's why the score was what the score was, where they were losing big after the first quarter. They were losing big at halftime. They were down by 21 a couple of minutes into the third quarter because the game was being played the way Boston wanted the game to be played. And I do think that is a good learning experience for the Cavs, that they need to continue to, no matter who is on the schedule, they need to play their brand of basketball. It's proven that so far their brand of basketball works. I thought they got back to their brand of basketball in the third quarter against the Celtics. And what happened? They outscored Boston 40-28 in that period because they played the type of basketball that we've been used to seeing. So I do think that that is something that is a little bit concerning, that when they have not looked their best, even in victories, they've played at other teams' pace. It happened against Brooklyn. It happened on Tuesday night. It is something, it's just to keep an eye out for. It's not to say they can't win playing at other teams' paces, because they almost won on Tuesday in Boston. But it is something that they didn't look like themselves for a large chunk of this game. I do think it is a little bit of an encouraging thing, though, that inside that locker room, they feel as if it was because of something they weren't doing rather than something Boston did to them. Because I do think it's easier to fix a flaw from within than having to diagnose what another team did that caused a team to play a certain way. So if they feel like it's truly just they didn't play their game because of something internally, I think that's better than, well, Boston ran this sort of defense, and that's why the Cavs weren't looking good. I will say also, Kenny Atkinson said he didn't think he had his team as prepared as he would have liked for this game. I don't know if that's because of a rest thing, because they just haven't had back-to-back days off. I don't know really how to interpret that answer. I think that more so was he didn't want to put the blame on the players. I think that's more of what that was. Darius Garland had a very rough night. This is not red flag number 2, because I don't think this is red flag, but this is negative thing number 2 from this game. Garland was 3 of 21 shooting. It was one of the worst shooting nights he's had in his entire career. Some of it, I think, can be attributed to good defense. Like, Boston's backcourt has 2 phenomenal defenders in Drew Holiday and in Derek White. Those guys are both really, really good on the defensive end of the floor. And I do think that at times they gave Darius Garland some problems. There were some other times where I thought Darius Garland got good shots, particularly ones at the rim. I thought he had floaters that he's been making consistently throughout this year. He missed a layup with the left hand in the third quarter. Maybe it was in the fourth quarter. He was not, to me, the same guy that he's been. I asked Kenny about that after the game. He said, Darius won't say this, but I think he hit a bit of a wall on Tuesday night. And Kenny also mentioned on Sunday, Darius is dealing with a little bit of a back thing. I asked Darius about it after the game too, and he didn't want to make the excuse that it is the back, but he acknowledged that at this point in the season, everyone's dealing with bumps and bruises. And that's Darius's bump and bruise right now, is that back issue that he's dealing with. I do think it is having a little bit of an effect on his game. I think that the upcoming stretch of days off, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, will do him very well. I don't think that this poor performance from him is a big deal. I think that because of how good he has been this year, where I think there's a case to be made that you could say he has been the team's MVP leading up to Tuesday night. I think that he has earned the benefit of the doubt with how good he's been this year to just say, you know what, that's probably just a one-off. That's probably not that big of a deal that he came out in Boston and had a really rough night. I think that some of it has to do with the back. I think some of it has to do with Boston having some good defenders. I think some of it has to do with just sometimes guys have off nights, and this wasn't the best time to have an off night for Darius Garland, but they do happen. Thing number 3 that was a negative was the 3-point defense. I've talked about this a bunch. I've asked Kenny Atkinson about this. This is something that I do think is a legitimate concern, because over the last 10 games now, teams are shooting well over, right around, a little bit over, I shouldn't say well over, a little bit over 40% from beyond the 3-point arc against the Cavs. The Celtics shot 53% from 3-point range on Tuesday night. At a certain point in this game, I thought they were going to break the record for most threes in the game. That record's 29, which I believe they actually tied on opening night when they played New York. But they hit 14 in the first half, and then they came out right away and hit 2 more in the start of the third quarter. Like in the first 26 minutes or so of this game, the Celtics hit 16 threes, and that's why the Cavs were down 21. The Cavs didn't shoot enough from three tonight, I didn't think, but I'm not necessarily talking about that. I'm more so talking about that the Celtics hit 53% of their threes. Like, that is something that has become, I think, more than just a blip on the radar. Now, is this an extreme occurrence of that? Yeah. Teams that have had really good nights shooting from beyond the arc against the Cavs have not touched 50+%. They've been around 40-ish, but they've had really good nights against the Cavs. The Celtics shoot a ton of them. And Kenny did say after the game that one of the things he was happy about as far as three-point defense goes is that they held Boston below their average number of three-point attempts that they take per game. So Boston leads the league, as you would expect, with 51 three-point attempts per game. They only took 41 on Tuesday night in Cleveland. That's still, a pretty solid number. I think the Cavs definitely need to be higher than the 29 three-point attempts that they had, but it's really, really hard to win games in the NBA when a team shoots 53.7% from beyond the arc against you. At a certain point, it becomes a math problem, and it was not a math problem the Cavs were equipped to solve on Tuesday night here in Boston. All right, that's enough of the bad stuff. There were some good things. I want to talk about the third quarter. I want to talk about Evan Mobley. I want to talk about what went right for the Cavs on Tuesday night in this Eastern Conference showdown. That's next, right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. I've been telling you about FanDuel Sportsbook for a long time. Why have I been doing that? Because it is America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. Plus, NBA, NHL, whatever sport you want to bet on, FanDuel has it for you. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. That page is FanDuel.com. I do not have the NBA Cup odds in front of me right now. I can promise you, though, that the Cavs are not going to be the second favorites to win the NBA Cup anymore after the loss they had in Boston on Tuesday night. But the Cavs will be back in action on Wednesday as they take on the New Orleans Pelicans at home. It's the second night of a back-to-back, which is never an easy thing. But I do like the Cavs in a bounce-back spot there. The early line has them favored by 13.5. New Orleans played on Tuesday night in Dallas, I believe it was. So this is a real opportunity, not only for the Cavs to get another win and feel good about themselves going into a 3-day break, but it could be an opportunity for you, if you think they're going to win by 13.5, to win that first $5 bet on FanDuel. And if you do that, if that first $5 bet hits, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. So just head on over to FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. And if you're watching on YouTube right now, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. So what went well in this game? The third quarter was... And it's funny because the Cavs have had awesome first quarters and terrible third quarters, and tonight was the inverse of that, where they were atrocious in the first quarter, and then their best quarter of the game was the third quarter. They outscored Boston 40-28. Jason Tatum hit a buzzer beater three-pointer at the end of the third quarter, which kind of proved to be the difference in the game. Celtics won by 3. So that made it 40-28. But the Cavs really figured out a plan coming out of the break. Boston got off to a really good start to start the third quarter, like I mentioned in the last segment. They hit a couple threes right off the rip. They got up by 21, but then the Cavs fought back. I thought they showed a lot of resiliency, and I thought they started playing their brand of basketball in this quarter. They were attacking in the right way. They were not trying to hunt out mismatches. Now, they did, towards the end of that third quarter, start spamming pick and rolls with Donovan Mitchell because they had a lineup with Craig Porter Jr. on the floor. The Boston Celtics were playing a reserve big man by the name of Neemias Queta, who could not stay on the floor. I don't know why Joe Mazzulla played him as much as he did. Whenever he was on the floor, the Cavs would just, whoever he was defending, and they wanted to hide him on Craig Porter Jr. So Craig Porter Jr. just came up and set a screen over and over and over and over and over again. Craig said, I talked to Craig after the game, and he said, I don't think I had ever set that many screens in my life. I thought something he did really well, and it was something that he's not done a lot of, obviously, but that was a big thing for the Cavs. I thought Craig Porter Jr. had a really nice impact in this game when you consider the fact that the Cavs were out 3 guys that have been consistently in the rotation, and a fourth in Max Strus, who I believe will be a starter when he comes back. So I thought that was a really good thing. I thought Evan Mobley was fantastic in the third quarter. He really showed up on Tuesday night. That was one of the things I was interested to see, is whether or not Evan was up for this type of challenge. And there were times in this game, in a game that had Donovan Mitchell, that had Jason Tatum, that had Jaylen Brown, there were times, not the full game, but there were times throughout the game where Evan was the best player on the floor. And that, I think, is a great sign. Like tonight, he looked like a guy that is an all-star. He looked like he belonged in this type of high-pressure, high-stakes game. And I get, it's November 19th. It's not the highest pressure game the Cavs are playing. It's not the highest stakes game the Cavs were playing, but it was a big game. I thought Evan Mobley really stepped up. I thought his performance was something that the Cavs should be really happy with. That third quarter, like I said, he was terrific. He was a big reason why the Cavs were in this game. And really throughout the night, I thought Evan was phenomenal on defense. I thought the way he defended was absolutely terrific. He did a great job running guys off the three-point line and then recovering. He had a couple of really nice plays at the rim. He wasn't, credited for blocks on all of them, but had some deterrence at the rim. There was one play where he blocked Jaylen Brown at one end and then ran down the floor and caught a lob on the other end. It's just like that. That's the special stuff that Evan Mobley's capable of, and that the Cavs are trying to get more of out of him. Because when he plays the way he did on Tuesday night, the Cavs can get to a different level. Now, they need better play out of other guys to really achieve that level. But listen to Evan Mobley's final stat line. 22 points on 8 of 13 shooting, 5 of 5 at the line, 1 of 3 from beyond the arc, 11 boards, 6 assists, a block, and a steal. That is an awesome game. If you get that from Evan Mobley regularly, that is an all-star. That is an all-star performance. And I thought he was an all-star in this game. I would have liked to have seen him be a little bit more involved in the fourth quarter than he was, though. That was something that I was a little bit disappointed by. I was a little curious as to why he was not necessarily as involved, but he played 8 minutes in the fourth quarter, didn't attempt a single shot. And I think that I don't want to say that's part of the reason why the Cavs lost, because I don't think it was, but I would have liked to see more of the offense go through him, especially on a night where Darius Garland doesn't have it going on. The fourth quarter, Darius was 1 of 5 from the floor. Evan needs to have the ball in his hands more in that fourth quarter. And, playing 8 minutes, if he would have played like 2 or 3 minutes, okay, I would have gotten it. But playing 8 minutes of that quarter, I don't think that there's a good reason why he wasn't as involved offensively. I thought in the second half, the Cavs played relatively well on the defensive end of the floor after not playing great on the defensive end of the floor in the first half. The third quarter, they were okay. The fourth quarter, they were okay. I mean, they outscored Boston in the second half by 14 points. So they definitely fought. They showed a lot of resilience in this game. And when Boston was hitting three-pointers the way they were hitting three-pointers early on, where it was just a barrage of threes, some of them were well contested, some of them were not, I think that this could have been a really easy game for them to sort of lie down on and to say, you know what, it's finally not our night. And they will have a night like that this year where it's just not their night and they're going to get blown out. I don't know when that will be, but it will happen. I thought it could have been tonight with the way Boston started, and I thought it was really impressive the way this Cavs team fought, the way this Cavs team battled through adversity. And this was a big game, and it didn't go their way. But I also liked the response in the locker room afterwards, where this was a team that immediately, they were, I think, appropriately upset, the fact that they lost the streak, the fact that they lost this game. But I don't view this loss as being something that is going to carry over, that they're going to think about regularly, at least. But they play Wednesday. As you're listening to this, they play tonight. I think that they're moving on to New Orleans. I think that they're ready to go get another win, to go into this little 3-day break that they have feeling good about themselves. I think that was a really good thing that I took away from the locker room, is that, yeah, they were upset. They were appropriately disappointed. But I thought that I think they're going to respond to it really well. And that'll really be the next test for this team. This is the first time they've been disappointed about anything all year. Has every game been perfect? No, but when you're 15-0, it's really hard to get nitpicky. I think that how they respond to this loss in Boston and the schedule that they have coming up is not exactly the most daunting, where they can very easily, maybe not very easily, but it's very possible that they face Boston next Sunday, December 1st, with a record of 18-1, right? Is that what that would be? 16, 17, 18, 19-1. It's very possible that they face Boston with a record of 19-1 by the time December 1st rolls around at Quicken Loans Arena or at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Sorry, I don't know why I did that. That's very possible. That's kind of the next test here. Okay, the streak is over. Can you start a new one? Even if it's, say they don't beat Boston, but can you go win the next 4? And then set yourself up to be 19-1 with a chance to go 20-1 when the Boston Celtics come to town a week from Sunday. That, I think, is the real next test. That is the thing that I'm really interested in seeing what that's going to look like. And I do think that you can learn a lot about teams when they face adversity. I thought we learned a lot about the Cavs tonight, and this was a measuring stick game. So I do want to talk about how they measure up. We'll talk about all that next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is, of course, the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. With PrizePicks now, you can win, like I said, up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. That's not that hard. Just 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, that's it. You can do that. PrizePicks also the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, Texas, states like that. PrizePicks also the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy. So your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half, doesn't return, PrizePicks keeps your lineup live. Plus, one of the other things that's very important, PrizePicks puts their members first. So all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When picks hit, you can get your money back in as quick as 15 minutes. So sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday each Tuesday. PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineup. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA, that's LOCKEDONNBA, to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, you can get the show anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure they are subscribed as well. So this was a measuring stick game for the Cavs. There's no question about this. There were a lot of eyes on this game. This was a very important game. It was an NBA Cup game. It was, as our friend over at Locked On Celtics, John Corrales, says, an NBA championship belt game, which the Celtics are now in possession of. Maybe the Cavs will get a chance to get that back soon. So all of those things come into play. And the Celtics, I thought, played really focused from the jump. They didn't necessarily look great early on. I thought both teams actually looked a little tight for the first couple minutes, and then Boston started to hit some three-pointers. But the way the Cavs battled back, and I do think that they can look in the mirror and say, you know what, we outplayed that team for a really strong chunk of that game. And they did it without 4 of their top 11 players. Now, you do have to be fair here and say, well, Boston doesn't have Kristaps Porzingis, and that's valid. But the Cavs can say, maybe this game's different if Karis LeVert plays. Maybe this game is different if Isaac Okoro plays, if Dean Wade is available. Maybe Jason Tatum doesn't hit as many three-pointers as he did. The Cavs can say those things. Now, I don't know if that does change the outcome, but it is the truth. And I walked away from this game thinking, okay, the Cavs didn't win this game, But I do think that they are in the same league as the Boston Celtics. I've been asking around everyone, whether it's media, people that work for other teams that I know, I've been asking around, can the Cavs realistically win the championship this year? Can they win the finals in June? I have not yet heard somebody say no to me. Everybody that has watched this team, that knows more about this stuff than I do, has said to me that they think the Cavs are capable of winning the title. And I thought that even in a loss on Tuesday night, I thought that is something that was sort of reaffirmed, that this is a team, it's a championship contender. They lost to a really good team on Tuesday night. They didn't play that well. If Darius Garland hits 3 more shots, if he is 6 of 21 instead of 3 of 21, we're talking about a 16-game winning streak. That's the difference in this game. The Cavs didn't play their best basketball, and they still competed with a team that, despite Cleveland's record, I think most people would probably say the Celtics are the NBA's best team and still the favorites to win the title. But after tonight, I'm buying that the Cavs are not just going to be a nice, fun, exciting regular season story. I think that this game felt like a playoff game, and the Cavs showed up. If these two teams played in the playoffs again this year, I think the series looks a lot different than the series did last year. Do the Cavs win? I don't know, but they don't lose in 5 games. It's a much closer series than it was last year if everyone's healthy. Put Kristaps Porzingis in the lineup for the Celtics, put everyone back in the lineup for the Cavs. I think that this is a longer series than just 5 games. Boston's really good, but I think the Cavs are on that level, and it's never fun, right, to learn from a loss. If you're the Cavs, if you're a Cavs fan, like you'd rather learn from the wins, right? But I do think that there are plenty of reasons to be encouraged about this basketball team, even though they lost this game. That's what I'm taking away from this, is that, yeah, the Celtics right now are a better team than the Cavs, but the Cavs aren't far away. The Cavs are a team that realistically could win the championship this year, and I don't think it would shock too many people. And now it's about more than just the fast start. It's about, Evan Mobley mentioned at shoot around on Tuesday morning, we want to prove that this is not a fluke, that we're true contenders. Even in a loss, I kind of thought they did that. I thought that this was a real opportunity, and they would have made a bigger statement with a win. Don't get me wrong. But even in a loss, I think the Cavs said, we're not just some cute regular season story. We're not just a fun win streak against bad teams. I think they showed they're for real. And I think that they're going to keep looking like a team that is for real. So now they're back in action Wednesday at home against the New Orleans Pelicans. Pelicans are without several key guys. This is a game the Cavs should win. Like I said earlier, how this team responds to adversity, I'm very interested to see. Signs so far have been positive on that front, but we will see what happens tomorrow night. Again, Cavs at home against the Pelicans. I will talk to you guys after that one with more thoughts about potentially the 16-1 Cleveland Cavaliers. So like I said earlier, thank you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the Locked On Cavs podcast. Also available on YouTube. Just search Locked On Cavs on YouTube. If you're watching this right now, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. And I will talk to you tomorrow after the Cavs take on the Pelicans.